welcome back to another video brought to you by the Freedom Eagle, political news and commentary with a conservative lean. For as long as the social media gods will allow there to be a Freedom Eagle with a conservative lean. This video is going to be a little bit different. It's just a conversation, basically. No script, not really all that many bullet points, just a free form. And as you'll notice from the usual style, there will be no pictures, no footage, no video clips of press conferences or sort of citizen video, because at this point I'm not sure what is allowed, because I don't have a very big channel, but I like the channel that I do have, and just for now I'm going to play it safe and try to do what the overlords are asking of us. As of the time of this video, it's almost midnight. It is January 8th, 2021. And just as I went to record, there's so much happening. Like with every 10 seconds right now, it seems like something else is going on. Um, I guess at the moment, I should start off by saying the obvious. Everybody on Twitter, especially, is just being cut down, undercut left and right. The president's been kicked off the thing. Sidney Powell, Lin Wood, who else? General Flynn, they're either been kicked off forever or suspended for a short time. People are losing, 10,000, 20,000, 50,000 followers. If you're a conservative pundit, you're in danger. If you've ever supported the president, you're in danger, especially if you have a large following. Basically anybody with over 100,000, 200,000 followers is at risk, even if you're not really all that well known. If you're just a regular Joe or Jane, but you have a powerful voice and you're supporting the president, you're probably on the chopping block. So it's been a crazy week, and it looks like it's going to end that way. Obviously, for myself, like I said, I need to be careful what I say, because they've got this thing guarded tighter than Fort Knox. So I'm going to censor my words. And some of what I want to say, I'll probably use code words. But, if you're watching this video, you probably obviously have your finger on the pulse of American politics. So you know what time it is. You don't need me to go through every little detail and explain things. You know what's up. Uh, from the Senate race to the general election for president back in November until today, it's all been crazy. Everything is connected and has very deep roots, and that's going to be the backbone for what I want to say in this video. All the dominoes fell this week, and I'll attempt in my own way to connect the dots. Hopefully I can make a sound point or points, like I've said, without just getting kicked off of this whole thing. The Freedom Eagle is a fairly new channel and a small one, and I love my subs. So all 40 plus of you right now, I thank you so much. I'd love to grow my channel and expand my voice, our voice as conservatives. So while it might be cool and bold and brave to stand out and say, outlandish things at a time like this, I'll play it cool and keep my channel and continue to have my voice heard as long as my voice will be allowed to be heard. In this video, I'll probably share a few unpopular opinions, but perhaps I won't. Perhaps a lot of people agree with what I want to say. And that's the beautiful thing. Healthy disagreement and debate, which as of right now, it seems like that's being taken away from us. If we share an opinion that's not with the mainstream, that we can just take our opinion and, jump in a lake with it. We're not allowed to have other opinions, and I think a lot of people in a certain party have waited for this day and this time for a long time, and now that they're about to take control of the whole blooming country, they're getting rid of the people they've wanted to get rid of for a very long time. Let's start with the Capitol. I realize I can't say much for the reasons I've given, but like I said, if you're here, you know what time it is. I just want to know what the true end game of that was that day. What was the end game? And I'm not going to speak about conspiracy. Who was there, who wasn't. Was it Antifa dressed as Trump supporters? That's a video for another day, and frankly, it's already been talked to death by many, many pundits over the last 48, 72 hours. My question is, what was the goal behind storming the Capitol? Now, I did see a video, which normally I would post, but given the situation right now, I'm not going to post anything. in terms of a video of the Capitol at all. You will not see the Capitol unless you want me to post the state capital of, state capital of, Wyoming or somewhere. I'm not posting the Capitol. Um, I did see a video of people just seemingly walking through an open door while Capitol security basically just let it happen. So, what's that really all about? But also saw folks breaking through windows and scaling walls. I understand the whole aspect of sort of taking a lap in the Capitol. I get it. A physical walkthrough and an exit, a show of force with your voice. But after that, I really don't understand. My question is, and this goes to the true believers. The true believers this whole time, the last 60 to 70 days. What did January 6th mean to you? In the days leading up, what was the end game? For the true believers, was Mike Pence really going to be the final stop? Was that what people thought? And I don't mean that to say, well, you're silly for thinking that. Honest question, honest question. Is that what the true believers really thought? Was he really going to overturn everything? Uh, this is just my opinion, and as much as I wanted Trump to win, and as much as I was pissed when he didn't, and as much as I believed in my heart that something really did happen back in November, can't talk too much about that for obvious reasons, but I believe something did happen, wink wink, back in November. I've also realized that this goose has been cooked for a long while. About 3 days after the election, I knew it was over. I didn't agree with it, but I just thought there is no way on earth this was going to be undone. You can't put ketchup back in the bottle. So here again, that brings us to January 6th and the Capitol. While I realized that there was a Trump rally that had been set up and planned well in advance, and it was sort of designed to be a final stand, I'm still not sure what the Capitol intrusion was all about. The goings on of that day were underway. What was supposed to happen that day was underway. Uh, and basically, all that happened was it was halted for a few hours because of the display. Here again, for the sake of this video, I'll just call it the display. Um, And then when that display was over, the business of the day concluded, and it did so with Joe Biden being certified as the new president. Let's keep it 100. That was always going to be the outcome on that day. Well, let's sort of pivot and say who's to blame for not only that day, but who's to blame for where we are right now. What's the next point? I can say this, and I think most would agree. If you were to go up to Republicans some 60 to 70 days ago, let's say election morning, the morning of the election, of the general election back in November, if you had told them then that Republicans were about to lose the White House and the Senate, you might find 10 Republicans who would honestly believe you. Yet, somehow, here we are. Democrats are about to take control of everything. So, how did we get here? I'm not going to start on day one, 4 years ago, but now that the smoke is cleared, I guess literally and figuratively, it does seem like the Trump train in many ways was always destined for this end. Right or wrong, it's like a grand adventure. Bad times, good times, amazing times, historically awesome times, horrible times, and then the last ride with the big plunge to, I guess, the bottom of the canyon floor. While we can't place blame over the course of 4 years can't blame every single person over the course of 4 years, because if I did in this video, it'd be about 10 hours long. But I've got my eye on a few folks. And if we want to begin right after early November, let's go with Donald Trump. After all, he is the president. I'm not saying he's 100% to be blamed for this. Absolutely not. But he is the president, so it would be stupid not to include him. But I will go after Lin Wood and Sidney Powell. Heck, we'll even throw in Rudy Giuliani if you'd like. Here's where opinions can differ, and it's all good. Healthy debate and opinions. If you don't agree with throwing Lin Wood and Powell under the bus, then that's fine. That's totally fine. Whether you're down with these folks or you think they're clowns, one thing is true. And hear me out on this. There is no doubt where they stood. That cannot be denied. They used their physical voice at rallies and events, and also their cyber voice, which, interesting enough, has now been taken away from them, to let it rip. They let it rip on social media. But how did it all end? Well, I think we saw it. It ended at the Capitol in a blaze. I almost said a blaze of glory, but that's certainly not it. At any rate, I will say this much. I'll say that what I can with the censors in place, when you have a bunch of angry and on edge folks who feel like they were cheated in a certain way, and then you have some folks like Wood and Powell constantly stirring the drink and making promises, the people are going to expect a delivery. I mean, when you call up Pizza Hut and place an order within 30 minutes, you're expecting something good. But when you're told to repeatedly keep the faith, trust the plan, release the Kraken, it's going to be biblical. And one of my favorite ones, I can't unsee what I've seen. And by the way, the it's going to be biblical and I can't unsee what I've seen, those last two things were from the mouth of, you probably guessed it, Sidney Powell. And I've got clips of her saying those very words on my channel. I'm pretty sure they're under the video with the biblical thumbnail across the front. So you can check them out for yourself. Pretty sure she said those words a couple of weeks after the election on Newsmax. But I mean, y'all know what's up. Wood and Powell, they got folks ginned up for 60 days with wait another day. No, one more day. No, it's coming next week. Next week. That's when it's coming. Release the Kraken coming to a White House. Almost said release the crack. Maybe that's you know, maybe that's what they were on. Release the crack. Release the Kraken coming to a White House near you. All the lines, all the promises. When you stir the stew with that level of intensity, the lid is eventually going to bubble off the pot. And I think January 6th was dinner time. And there was no payoff. Just a bunch of raw emotions, injury, death, and jail time. So, earlier this evening, as of the time this video is being recorded, I read that a certain group of people, for the sake of the video here, we'll just call them Dominio's Pizza Software, wink wink, you know what's up, is suing Sidney Powell for $1.3 billion. And to that I say, at this point, good. Good. I mean, if it's time to show all the cards. Powell says she can't unsee what she's seen. Okay. Care to share? Here we are about 42 hours past midnight of the point of being able to do anything about early November. So I'm personally starting to think that what she couldn't unsee were the visions in her head. And same goes for that joker Lin Wood. Between his tweets and his parlor activity, which I think both have been taken away from him at this point, along with everybody else, by the way. And, you know, I think in the case of Wood, I don't disagree. Other people, I think it's terrible. But if you know what's up with Wood, he's been saying some crazy mess. Uh, and for here again, one more time, for the sake of censorship and what's going on, I can't really say what I want to say, but Mike Pence and a firing squad, if you've seen all that stuff, even if you're down with the cause and a true believer, there comes a point where you're like, yeah, you know what? I'm still down with the cause, but I'm not down with this guy anymore. Um, yeah, Lin Wood, I don't know if Wood and Powell were always nuts or if they've turned nuts, and a lot of people have mentioned this, and the crazier things get, the more I almost find myself leaning in this direction. If this was all a game, and this is the result they wanted, and let me be clear, I don't mean the result with what happened at the Capitol, but think about this. If Lin Wood and Sidney Powell, just the morning after the election, if their whole thing was to gin up Trump supporters, tinfoil hat, conspiracy, every tweet's going to be, this is coming up, wait another day, trust the process, believe have the true faith and all that mess. If their whole goal was to gin up the crowd and the fringe or whatever you want to call it, get them strung out waiting for a payoff that never came, and at the end everybody's looking ridiculous. Let's say if that was the goal, what would they have done differently than what they did? Now here again, they still could be true believers and they're going down with the ship, and maybe they're the smartest people in the room, and a year from now when all the truth comes out, we might find out that they were the only smart ones around and we were all crazy. But as of right now, they're on an island on their own. Um, so if this was all a setup to make everybody look stupid, or the people that bought in wholesale look stupid, what would they have done differently? Ask yourself that. I don't think anything, because as of right now, they're looking silly, and the people who bought in are looking silly, and a lot of the folks that are bought in are waking up and admitting, hey, I'm feeling pretty stupid right now for following Lin Wood, especially Lin Wood, off a cliff. As for the Senate, which, by the way, it's a crazy week when the Democrats take control of the Senate, and that's barely a news story. That's how crazy this week's. It's the forgotten story. And speaking of Wood, it was Wood who said, "Do not go out and perform your civic duty." It was at one of those "Stop the Steal" rallies. Well, because if you do go out and perform your civic duty, it won't matter, right? Because of November, right, and all the shenanigans in November, they're going to screw you twice. Well, for as many people who call baloney on that and say it had no impact, the Senate race, by the way, that what Wood said had no impact on the final results, I say this. The polls were wrong in 2016 with Hillary Clinton. The polls were wrong in 2020 in the general election. But the polls were right in this Georgia thing. It was supposed to be razor thin, and it was. Purdue and Ossoff, razor thin. Warnock over Loeffler, razor thin. Polls got it right. So let's just say this. Let's say 200 Republicans, and pick a number. Just pick any number. Doesn't have to be big. 200. 200 Republicans in a whole county. They heard Wood either on Twitter, or they were at that rally, or maybe saw a clip from what he said from the rally on their local news. And they're true believers, right? They're buying into things weren't right in November. Wink, wink. Like I said, I can only say so much about that. Got to use some code words if I want to keep my channel. But they're true believers, right? They bought into what Wood and Powell were selling, and they just decided to stick it to the man by staying home on election night when the entire Senate was in the balance. Well, that, my friends, is enough to lose. What I've always thought is, people say, well, nobody's falling for that. You make up your own mind. Just because he says don't go out to the polls, and that nobody's doing that. Well, he didn't have to reach everyone with his stay-at-home message. He just had to reach enough. And when an outcome is razor thin, that could be the difference. You hear it a lot in football, especially college football, a team losing to the same team 2 weeks in a row, putting all the eggs in one basket, losing the big game, and then following it up by losing to an inferior team you should have beaten by 30 points. Why in the world does that happen? Well, your heart and mind were back in last week during the big game, and you haven't gotten over the slim defeat. Thus the expression, you lost to the same team twice. You let Team X beat you twice. Well, that's a lot like this. Wood and Powell preached to the masses about 10 seconds after the general election was over in November that it was sour. And I'm using sour for another word that I probably can't say. It was taken, whatever you want to say. Something happened that night. Something happened. Well, okay. The bad turn took place when Wood in particular pivoted from that narrative to say, well, they messed us over once. Why even bother to show up for the Senate races? That's a bad attitude to have, and the outcome is clear. The first defeat, November, and the sour feelings and conspiracy innuendos set up the second defeat, which means he lost to the same team twice. A year from now, and I mentioned this earlier, we might find out the truth. Sidney Powell, Lin Wood, and even Trump himself might come out looking like the smartest people in the country when all of this is over. But right now, they've been kicked off social media, and one of them is being sued to the tune of more money than I can even wrap my head around. In closing, I'll just say the conservative movement will return. It's not leaving, but right now it is in urgent care. This is a recovery period. There is, as a conservative in general, there is always and always will be tiny room for error, because the media will always be looking for a soundbite, looking for a video clip, looking for a moment to bury you and bury us, bury everyone who is not 2 steps right of Bernie Sanders. Sadly for the folks who stormed the Capitol, many of which were unfortunately Trump supporters, this gave the media all the sound and video they'll need for years. CNN will be playing clips of the Capitol uprising for the next 50 years, and that's a shame. But let's keep in mind a lot of people were stirred into a frenzy because of what happened in November. Even more so, and even worse, in my opinion, a lot of people were stirred into a frenzy over conspiracy narratives and the promise of victory that never materialized. Sadly, that probably cost the Republicans the Senate, and unfortunately, it cost a few people their actual lives. Ultimately, we are all responsible for our own actions. No one made those folks enter the Capitol, but it's not really about that. It's how they got there. What led them to that point that morning on that day? The vehicle was set in motion that allowed all of this to end this way. Many people came to the Capitol expecting something big to happen, something big. The promise of something big led by big voices. Instead, something big did happen, and CNN will never let us live it down, us as conservatives. And it will probably end with Trump getting impeached. Let's just be honest, it could very well happen. The movement is already in underway for that to happen, just days before a new administration takes office. It's sad, but we will recover. So, as I always do, I'll turn it over to you with your thoughts. Please comment below in a respectful manner. Healthy dialogue and debate will always be welcome on this channel, as long as this channel is allowed to stand. Even if I have 4 subscribers or 400,000, this will always be a place for open exchange and dialogue. If you enjoyed this content, please like, share, and subscribe. And please click the bell so you can be informed the next time I post a video. And just an FYI, a little bit of a transition here. I do personally enjoy political history. And given what's going on, frankly, I love talking about current events, but I'm not really sure how much I'm allowed to even say anymore. I'm keeping things very close because I don't want to lose the channel. So I love conservative political history, stories, all of that. So a few months ago, I created a little mini documentary about Ronald Reagan, the 1976 National Convention, and his rise throughout the 1980s. Boy, do we miss Reagan during these times. That video, that little mini doc is on my channel. Please check it out if that is of interest to you. And also, I posted a short video about the friendship between Donald Trump and Herschel Walker. It's quite an interesting story. So if you like Donald Trump, Herschel Walker, the Georgia Bulldogs, and a little football, check out that story. It's pretty cool. At any rate, please give me your thoughts on all of the recent events, and they seem to be history is like 5 seconds ago when it comes to recent events. So what happened half an hour ago is ancient history at this point. It seems like Christmas 2020 was 6 months ago, and we just now finished the first week of January 2021, folks. It is that crazy. At any rate, if you like what you heard, please give me your thoughts in the comments below. Tell me all about your opinions. What do you think of Lin Wood, Sidney Powell, the president, uh, censorship, big tech, run to the boot of big tech? Just give me all you've got. Just keep it respectful, keep it healthy, and enjoy the conversation. I love you all. Everyone, take care, stay safe, and I will talk to you later.